Hey, girl. Hey, we are live once again. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If I'm looking a little crazy and seeming a little out of sorts, I don't have my girl Kelly sitting next to me, so this just does not feel the way it's supposed to feel. But it is so great to be here for another Hey Girl, Hey podcast. And just like every other time, this episode is not going to disappoint. So, we're talking about dating over 40, over 50, and beyond. And y'all know how we do it. It's always going to be open, honest dialogue, candid conversations. We don't have a shy woman in the bunch from what I know. So this conversation is going to go wherever this conversation goes. So, of course, I want to make sure that I introduce myself. I always act like y'all know who I am. And Kelly's like, Stay never introduces herself. So I am Stay Hall, CEO of I Saw, and author of Dispelling the Myth of the Angry Black Woman. And so happy to be co-creator and moderator of Hey Girl, Hey. And so I just want us to go down the line. And if everybody can just kind of give us a brief little 30-second introduction of your name and who you are and what you do. Oh, we're going to start with you, Adrienne.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm Adrienne B. I'm the matchmaker on the panel this evening, and that's what I do. I matchmake by night, and I'm a recruiter by day.
Hey everybody, I'm Charlotte Horton. I am a speaker and strategist. I help people, teams, and organizations thrive. That's my real job. When I'm not doing that, I love practicing becoming Beyonce.
Okay, I love that. I love that. So, yeah, you're going to have to tell us more about that.
Hi, my name is Tamara. Tamara Batsell. I'm a content creator, in particular for the woman over 40. So I talk to that crowd about living our best life at 40, both in fashion and in lifestyle. So I love talking about how this chapter in life is a new beginning and how we can advance it and enjoy it. And so I'm happy to be here with Hey Girl, Hey.
Thank you for being here.
Hey girl, hey. I'm Terry Walker Burston. I am a retired educator and I can say, I guess, retired finance director. So I am really retired.
Yeah, you've done it twice.
So I've done it twice. And so just enjoying life, enjoying being that 50-plus woman.
Hey, girl, hey. My name is Phyllis Allen. I am a writer. I am a mom and a grandmom, and I'm probably the oldest one on the bunch. And I'm retired from AT&T, but I've done a lot of other things since then, and learning every day that life is different after 70.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so today we are talking about dating over 40, over 50, and beyond. And I love the fact that we have women here of a lot of different ages and in a lot of different stages of relationship. And I know for me, I have a lot of girlfriends who either were married early on in their 20s and got divorced early and have been single ever since. And they tell me that there is pee in the dating pool, right? And so I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, Stay, because this is not my first marriage, so I don't at all pretend to be an expert at this, to say that I've gotten it right every single time. This time I'm good, I have my person, but you know, I kissed a lot of frogs. But they tell me there's pee in the dating pool, and my advice to them was, you need to jump in a deeper pool, because I just refuse to believe. And so I just kind of want to talk about just the first question, because I like to get the conversation started with kind of a stir, and anybody can jump in. But why do you think you're single? Anybody can jump in.
Well, I'll start. Some of it's my fault. A lot of people don't want to admit, they're not self-aware, that I may have picked bad, or I may have found a good man and I didn't appreciate him. or I chose to live my single life and not make the adjustments you need to make when it comes to a relationship, and just being true to that relationship. So I think there's a variety of different reasons, you know. But I've enjoyed dating. I mean, I can't say that, but I've made some mistakes, and I own them, and hopefully I've learned from them.
I love that vulnerability, though. I love that, and being able to say, because one thing I say whenever I'm doing my coaching, it is an awesome place to be when you find yourself in any type of conflict, when you can say that maybe I'm the problem, because then you have control over fixing it. Because if we're always saying it's somebody else, something else, circumstance, the situation, then you really have no control over fixing that. But anybody else want to jump in on that whole why you're single? And then also, if it's why are you single and it's because I want to be, we want to hear that too.
I'll share. I was married for 20 years. And I still say recently divorced, because in the grand scheme of things, being with somebody for 20, 25 years and then being single for 5 years, I have found, so number one, I got married right out of undergrad. So I never dated as an adult. So I didn't start dating until well into my 40s. And so I think for me right now, I'm single, and I have heard the pee in the dating pool statement a lot. I will say that I have met some incredible men over the last 5 years. Really, really good men. But good does not necessarily mean good for me. And so I think I am single because I've gained so much more clarity. And I thank God that I didn't get married the first time I wanted to. I didn't know how to be single, so it was easy for me. I longed to be married again. Not really. I just didn't want to be single.
Right. I get
And there's a difference.
There is a difference.
And so, once I started to get clarity, dating has given me tremendous clarity about who I am, what matters to me, what's important to me. And I'm single because I have, at this point, a pretty high standard. The life that I've been able to build for myself is incredible. And so I expect that somebody is going to add to that and not take away. I don't argue with myself. I'm not arguing with a man. I don't have to, I don't cause problems for myself. I don't want a man causing problems for me. And so I'm really hoping that at some point, not hoping, but, believing that at some point there's going to be somebody who enters my life who adds such value that I can't say no.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's the thing, too. I love the fact that you use the word add. Because so many people say, I'm just looking for somebody who can make me happy. I'm just looking for somebody who can complete me, and not realizing how much that's saying about the lack of happiness and joy and self-love you have for yourself. So we should always be looking for somebody to add to collaborate with us, to join, because if you're looking for somebody who's going to bring all that to you, then
All order.
right, there's some work you need to do, because no one is going to be able to make you happy. And maybe that's why you're single, because your expectation is so high. You're looking for somebody to bring you something that you don't even have. So I love that. Anybody else want to chime in on why you're single?
I do. I think I'm single because I stayed in a place that I knew was not going to be my place, and I stayed there too long. I met a person, funny story. I met a person, I wrote down, I was 43 as a matter of fact, and I wrote down all of the things that I wanted in a man. I mean, things like I wanted him to have a basic name, I wanted him to have a basic job. I mean, all these things. And I met this man, and really, I tell him, 30 years later, we're still friends, and I tell him all the time, he was a one-night stand gone horribly wrong, because 30 years later, we're still best friends, but I was stuck. And so when I went back and looked, I met this man, and I was really, I mean, he looked really great in these jeans, and he was so delicious.
Delicious.
I was 43, he was 28. And so I thought, oh yeah, this is, But I'm telling you, it was amazing. But when I went back and looked at my list, I found my list like 5 years later after I met him. Everything that was on that list, that man was, except I didn't put the age on the list. So,
And that's
God
something I
has
want
a
to
sense
talk
of humor.
about.
That's interesting.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. That's cool. Terry, did you have anything to
Well,
add?
I'm not single, but I will say that when I was single and dating, I found that I had a bad picker. And so it's almost like being an amoeba. I would be in a relationship, and it's like, oh, this person, I'm going to try this. Oh, I kind of like this, not really knowing me really well. So I would be kind of whatever they needed me to be. And then, so I'm not single anymore. And then I met somebody who I'm my authentic self, and whatever that is, and they just go with it and accept me for whatever that is without any criticism or anything. And I found that that's very refreshing. I've never had that before.
Yeah.
And so if I wake up in a bad mood, they just, okay, well, all right, you can do something with that hair though, whatever. And and it's just, I am just my, whatever I want to be. If I want to, bum out for the day, okay. And it's just whatever, and they're encouraging and very loving and very patient and just, and that's a new feeling, a new experience. I'm always the person that takes care of.
Right.
And now it's like there's somebody trying to take care of me.
Ooh, I love
that for you. Yeah.
Want to make sure that I'm happy and that I'm laughing and I make his day, And so it's a different space to be in.
I love that for you. And that reciprocity is something that I think is a miss in a lot of relationships, because as women, oftentimes we are the nurturers and we feel like we have to, right? We have to, what did Medea say? Cooking, cleaning, we have to do all the things. Where it's like, no, but we give so much, especially if we are coming from previous marriages or a lot of relationships that didn't work. We gave and gave, and so then now we're out here again, so we decide I'm not doing nothing. I just want somebody to take care of me. But it's like, no, it's about the reciprocity. I'm going to have your back, you have to have my back. I'm going to have good days, I'm going to have bad days, and the same for you. We just have to learn to be there for each other. It's about having that harmony. So we haven't heard from you yet, Miss Adrienne. So after everything you've heard on this first question, what is your take?
Well, first of all, I love all of the answers because I love Black women, and I love how we're all able to live our individual truths, and we're all able to do what works for us. So as a matchmaker, I'm not here to say that relationships are for everybody or that every time is the right time to be in a relationship. And I think, you have to be really prepared to be in a relationship. And that's one of the things that I look for and I kind of require out of the clients that I work with, is that they're ready to do the work and that they're ready to really take a look at how they're living and what some of their choices have been and some of their dating patterns and how we can maybe tweak some of those things so that we can get the results that they're looking for. I am happily married. I'm on my second husband as well, so I know a little bit about divorce. I know a little bit about the feeling of really wanting to get married again and then backing off from it, right? And saying, hey, I'm actually pretty happy with myself and kind of where I am. And then I met the right person. He's here with me, met the right person. And he sees me. And I do think there is a benefit to falling in love after 40 or even after 50, because I think you change so much between 20 and 45 or 25 and 45. You just really come into your own. And so I don't want to ramble on and on, but yeah, I really appreciate you all sharing. But you have to want to be in a relationship. You have to want to look at yourself honestly if that's what you want to get a mate or to find a mate. And they're out there, but you have to make sure you're ready for them.
Well, I know for me, when Phyllis was talking, there were several things that you said that I'm like, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that. And so, for those of you who don't know, my husband and I do couples counseling as well as singles, because we go by the rule of stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So we love to get people who are wanting to be in a relationship to kind of prepare, because like you said, to your point, some people, you don't even know what it is to be in a relationship because you've never really had a good solid one. But what we find so often when we are talking with the singles is they come with this list. And so you mentioned your list. There's this list. And so we do a whole session that we call Ditch the List. Because first of all, our lists are usually completely irrational because we're asking for perfection a lot of times, or we miss certain things on the list. And so I know when I talk to my friends, you know, who are women of a certain age, I'm 53. And most of my friends are a couple of years older than me. So I'm not the baby of the bunch by no means, but they are older than me. And they'll have these lists, and it's just like, okay, well, how's that been working for you, as Dr. Phil says. And on the list, a lot of times it is age, and the age is usually somebody their age or a few years older. And so what I've been telling my friends lately, and I can't wait to hear what y'all think about it, is at this big age, I mean, unless we are 50 and he's 18, okay, maybe that's a difference. But, you know, the men that we're going to entertain are going to meet and day to day are going to be grown ass men. Okay, so whether that's a grown ass man at 35 or 42, it's a grown man. Why are you letting that deter you? Or ditch the list because you needed this man to be 6'5". Well, boo, you're only 5'3".
Right,
Why does this man need to be 6'5"?
Right.
Or one of the big ones in our culture is it has to be a black man. Well, black men have been dating outside of our race since the beginning of the time. Why are we so loyal to our black men? And I love our black men. But I'm just saying, if Mr. Yang, who is 43, is hollering at you, why are you going to let, oh, well, I'm not going to do this? Or if it's, you know, somebody even of a different religion, I would say, because we talk about equally yoked, but there's a difference in religion and spirituality. Like, there's a lot of different stuff. So what do y'all think about these lists? And do y'all have them?
I had one.
Because there's a difference in the list and preferences and your
Yes.
non-negotiables. So let's talk about the list.
I never had a list of characteristics. It was more a list of things that mattered, like compatibility matters. So I had to define what compatibility meant to me. Chemistry matters a lot to me. So I had to define when I say chemistry. So it wasn't about how he presents. It was more about the things that matter most to me. But again, I was 43 when I made this list. Now, if I had to make the list at 20, I'm sure it would have been 6'5", dark skin, dry, you know, it would have been all of that. But at this big age now, let me also say, I very recently dated a man that was significantly younger than me. Do not recommend. 0 stars.
Okay.
It was the ghetto. And not because he wasn't a good man, but because it was a mindset that I just could not overcome. I have a 25-year-old daughter who's very mature, and I, you know her friends and everything. And I just could not stop myself from comparing at times this really nice man to my 25-year-old daughter and her friends. Every time there was a difference in either opinion or perspective, I immediately went to, see, it's because he's young. And that just wasn't fair to him. So this idea of being ready, I was not ready to date a man that was younger than me. I also have spent my whole life raising people, pets, and plants, and I am an empty nester now. And so there's also, like, for me, children is a non-negotiable. And it was a non-negotiable that I compromised on because he was a good man, because he was handsome, because we had fun together. But I had to ditch my attachment to fun in favor of my future. And I just had to, at some point, realize that for all these reasons, he just wasn't right for my future.
I get that. Anybody else have lists?
So I don't have a list anymore because, you know, when you're 73, the list is pretty much gone. But one of the things that I think the reason and I used to say this. Everybody would say, you two are so, why are y'all, y'all are so close. Because even today, and he's married and all of that, even today, like my birthday was on Monday, so.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. So he has, for 32 years, he has been the first person to wish me happy birthday. So, of course, phone rings, and he's wishing me happy birthday. But the whole thing about his age was, I used to tell people, all men want a mama that they can sleep with. I mean, and he had grown up. His grandmother had raised him, so so I was part mom, but then in the meantime, I was also a freak. Mama. And we brought it. We both did things, crazy things, that we would not have done but with each other, and so it is weird. I will always say it, and I tell God all the time, you have a wicked sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
Because I truly believe that had we been the same age, because when I met him, he had never had children, he had never been married, and I was thinking that, he's 28, he's about money. One day we were at the ATM machine and he left the receipt, and so I pulled it out of the machine. I went, oh hell, he got a whole lot more money in the bank than I do. Because he had a whole different attitude about money, and so my lists are gone. Because 73-year-old men, baby, here's what you're gonna get on the list. You're gonna hear about his medicine, his blood pressure. He got to go to the heart doctor. He got a hip replacement, and he's waiting on his knee replacement. And it just ain't a whole lot to do.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. You got a list you struggle with?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't. I really don't have a list. Maybe I'm beyond that. I never had a list.
Okay.
I don't think ever. I just knew what I liked, and I knew that I needed a partner that had some similarities, and I knew I'd like a partner that would challenge me. I'm all about adventure. I'm all about funny people. If you're too serious, I mean, there's just some things that you just eliminate yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes. If you're too stiff, if you don't want to go anyplace.
Yeah.
And I'm 60 plus years old, so I understand you start talking about that age group. They talking about sitting down at the house and watching Good Times. I mean, that's not me.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
I still
Liver
want to.
and onions.
Yeah. I still want to maybe ski again, or I still want to travel, or you know what? I'm just a very adventurous. So the list, I never did too much of that because I'm a good reader of people, and it doesn't take me necessarily too long for me to say.
So is age a big factor for you?
Funny that you mentioned that. I have met a younger man, significantly younger.
Okay.
Have a great time, and his mental is very advanced for his age, which makes a difference. And he has experienced a lot in his time period. And he's very driven and very, very dedicated. And I'm like, I really admire that in people. I love to date people I can respect. And that's really a turn on to me, you know what I'm saying? And his discipline. We love sports. We watch sports together. He loves to cook. He pampers. As soon as I see him, it's sit down. I got you, that sort of thing. So he's and loves his mother and takes care of his mother. So he has a lot of great qualities. But I know the age difference is a huge factor. I don't know if it's for the long haul. And that kind of hurts me because I don't think it is.
Why
I just
is
don't.
the age difference a huge factor? Because everything you just said sounds so
Sounds great.
positive.
Because it's the gap. I'm 60 years old, so in 20 years I'll be 80.
Okay.
He'll still be at an age where he's still very vibrant. And I got to be practical. At what age? At 80, I hope to be in good health and vibrant, that sort of thing. But I don't want to have that burden on him. And he doesn't want children, so children isn't even a factor. But I just think about the health factors and what changes. Just like we talk about, we're not the same at 20 to 40.
Right.
Well, I'm not the same at 60 and 80. So that's why.
Yeah.
But let me say this. My friend I was telling you about, he got married 2 years ago. His wife is dying. They're in their 50s. She's 50. She's actually younger than my son, and she's dying. So that while I understand that, if you can't let that hold you back. But one of the things with being an older woman with a younger guy is you are always checking out young women. I mean, you see somebody, so you're looking at him, and I have to say this, I used to always say this, he was so cool about, you would see his eyes shift over and then he would look the other way. But then it's in my head. And I don't know if you guys remember in How Stella Got Her Groove Back, there's a scene about that in the movie when they're waiting for the movies. You are always comparing yourself against a young woman that you know he's seeing. She's out there. You know he
But
sees
isn't that just men, though?
well,
Men
yeah,
always
but,
look.
but
The
then
old
you're
men
beating,
looking at the younger girl.
Oh, well, you know, old men,
Don't nobody.
I don't know why they're looking at younger women because I'm old and I don't want. I had a man who called me and asked me to go out to dinner, and I said, "Oh, okay," and I'm excited, you know, and I'm gonna. And so we made plans. So the next day he calls me. He calls me about 3:30, and he says, "I'm leaving the house. I'll be over there to pick you up in a minute." And I said, "For what? Where?" I said, "We're going somewhere for drinks." No, I thought we're going out to dinner. I'm gonna pick you up about 4:30. You know, Louis starts the Luann Platter. Luann Platter at 4:30. I think he said 4:30. And I'm all in for a Luann Platter. So not 4:30 in the afternoon.
Right,
baby.
right. That's
I got on a cute dress and I put on some heels. I said, you know what? I'm kind of not really feeling well. Why don't we set it for another day? Because I'm not going out at 4:30.
And Miss Phyllis, that's so funny because the guy I'm dating now, I call it supper. I call that early, and I know that's not, I just recently learned that supper is not defined by the time of day, but we take our little 50-year-old selves to go eat at 4:30. And I love it.
I would be all in for that if we, with my guy that I hung out with forever, we've done that. I don't want to go on the first date.
First date. Understood. Point taken. Point taken.
I don't. And the other thing is, they can't never drive at night. So they
Right? They can't see that night view.
They got to be home by 6:30.
Right.
Because they can't drive at night.
Okay.
So that's Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill.
I'm an old school woman. I think they're men things and women things. And I like to get in the car and just zone out, look out the window. I don't want to be looking at him driving like this. You know where you going? Because I like to get in the car. I don't even put my glasses on. But with him, I got to have my glasses on. You see that car over there?
Fighting for your life. Oh, my God. Okay, we're going to do the questions now? Okay. Let's see. There's a lot of people on here. So we have somebody who says, I'm single because I don't meet men who want to be married. I have standards. Men have more options, and they don't have to accept anything they don't want to. It's a numbers game. So do we think that men are... that have the advantage? And sometimes I feel like men have the advantage just because we allow them to have that advantage because we say we have standards. And I really think when we say that, we truly mean it, but then we get in a relationship and we don't hold up to our own standards.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We
compromise quick, and men know that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I think sometimes we are the biggest promise breakers to ourselves and the first ones to cross our own boundaries. Adrienne, you look like you had something to say.
I do have something to say about that because I hear that all the time, that men have all the choices and men have all the control, and that, you know, they basically get to make all the selecting. But part of why I created bespoke matchmaking is because I believe that all of us are so special. And I think you're really shortchanging yourself when you say, you know, men have all the control and you have none of it. I mean, you are special and you are divine, and Black women get married every day. So you have to stop. I just don't buy into this idea that because Black men have so many choices, that there's none available. I think that if you're prepared to meet someone and you're in the right headspace and you're spending time doing the right things and going to the right places and connecting with the right people, I'm not gonna promise you a husband or a long-term mate, but I'm gonna say that you're much more likely to find that person. They're probably not, let me just say this, gonna fall on your car while you're driving home from work. That's
I met
not
a guy like that.
I believe that. I believe that. But I'm just saying, for most of us, like, you're not gonna meet a man that you want by him falling on your car while you're driving to and from work. And so I talk to a lot of incredible women friends, but they spend a lot of their time with a lot of other women, and they spend a lot of their time at work, and they're just driving to and from these events, and they're giving themselves very few opportunities to meet someone that would be meaningful to them.
So what are some opportunities to meet someone? What are some things that you would suggest to take, you know, our ladies out of the norm?
Oh, wow. Let's see. I don't want to go through a ton of them, but I definitely think if you are seeking a long term, like, you know, I noticed also on the panel we were talking about married or single, but I also think that as we mature, sometimes we're looking at long-term relationships or long-term commitments that don't necessarily equal marriage, because we're talking about men and women who are potentially already retired or they're looking at retirement. I do actually have a couple of clients over 70, and they're not all at Luby's at 4:30. Some of them are driving at night, and some of them are quite active. So, I mean, I think, you know, you draw to you what you are, okay? And so you wanna make sure that what you are is really, really good, right? You wanna make sure that what you are is really, really good, because that's what's gonna draw that man to you. And not a perfect man, not a tall man, not a super handsome man necessarily that everybody thinks is, but the man for you. And I think we need to focus on that. And I also think, I'm rambling a little bit, but I gotta say this, because I don't know about women that are not Black. I don't know a lot about their dating patterns, because most of the women I know are Black. We have to stop dating men so that we can impress each other. Can we stop doing that? Can we stop trying to date a man that your girlfriends think is fabulous? Because you know what, your girlfriends aren't dating that man. Right. Okay? You need to find a man that is good to you and that you can be good to. This is not about anybody else, but the two of you. And I think so often we pass up, my friends and some of my clients, pass up on really great men because they don't think they're gonna present well, okay? But this is not a job, okay? This is not a job interview. This is not a job. This is your life. This is your happiness. This is your long-term companionship. So, I mean, yeah, you want people to like this person. You want people, most importantly, to respect this person. But do people really have to, like, get it? Like, they don't need to get it. You need to get it, right? It needs to work for you.
No, I love that. And I think so often, you know, we're quick to say, I don't care what anybody thinks, but we do.
We do.
And so many of our decisions that we make are based on what we think other people will think and not wanting to deal with that. But we have to realize, too, it's nobody else's business. I had a question specifically for you, Adrienne, in the chat, and they want to know, do the lists matter in dating? Should you have a list at all? Does it matter?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a place for the list. I think we need to start with a list. I'm not opposed to a list, But I find that when we get into the weeds, when we're talking about these lists, and I start to have really deep conversations with clients, they don't seem to understand what's on the other side of that list. And I'll give you an example, because I know you probably want an example. I'll give you an example. Women come to me all the time and they say, I want a man who makes a lot of money, okay? Now, first of all, a lot of money is different to different people, and I'm not gonna tackle that this evening. But they come to me and they say they want a man who makes a lot of money. Men who make a lot of money are at work all the time unless they're criminals, okay? Do you understand that? Unless he was just born wealthy, okay, which there are very few black men. We're talking about black men, right? So unless he was just born into money, but if he's just a man that has a job and he makes a lot of money, if he's a doctor, if he works in the oil field, if he makes a lot of money, he is at work. You cannot tell me that you're looking for a man who makes a lot of money but's also gonna be home with you all the time and accompanying you everywhere and doing everything with you. No. So you know, when you ask for the things on your list, you know, you ask for a super good looking man, well, you do know everybody wants your super good looking man, right? Yeah, I mean, you do know everywhere you go, women are passing him the phone number as soon as you go to the ladies' room. So just make sure that when you're making this list and you're counting off what's really, really important to you, it may seem like a good thing, and I'm not saying that it's not. I mean, because you should have your heart's desire, but understand that there is good and bad to everything, you know? So when you're gonna be getting this on this side, but what's the drawback of that, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
I found that a list can also be a list of things you definitely do not want.
Don't want. Yes.
And
Right.
I used, in my 20s, I had my list, and I've been married twice. In my 20s, I had my list, and the man I married was nothing on my list. And it didn't last long. And then I was single for a very long time, and then I married again. I had a kind of a list, but still unclear about what I did not want, but had a few things on the list, and he really didn't meet the things on my list either. And then it wasn't until I said, okay, because these lists, you're not hitting the target, and my lists weren't realistic anyway, because it was a man who makes a lot of money, and all those type, a man who makes a lot of money has a job, and so he's not going to be spending all that time with you that you want. And so it wasn't until I actually started working on what is it I do not want? What are my non-negotiables? And once I, you know, settled on what those non-negotiables were, it opened up a lot. I mean, that field of view opened up. And I did not, and you mentioned this earlier, deeper, wider. My pool was deeper and wider. So I didn't limit myself to African-American men. You know, my family and my friends would say, you're an equal opportunity dater. Yep, I was. So I wanted to make sure that I met somebody who just loved me, you know, and I didn't have to change for them. And whatever we were going to do, we can grow together on some things. We can critique each other and not walk around mad at, you know, just... You know, we can be better together. And, but it was not until I created my list of non-negotiables that actually my mindset changed.
Yeah, I mean, those things that you just absolutely cannot live with or cannot live without. I feel like we should all have those. And you and I talked about that the other day, Adrienne. It's just like, but it shouldn't be this long laundry list of things, because you have to think, he probably has a list too. And how many of those things do you think that you're checking off that list? Because none of us are perfect. That's one thing that I loved about that movie, Why Did I Get Married? The 80-20 rule. I definitely believe that just in life, because nothing is perfect. But the one thing I kind of wanted to talk about, especially with us seasoned women who are successful, we're living our lives, this whole thing that we need to have a man who has a lot of money. And everybody talks about the six figures, and the six figures in this day and age in the economy is like, you know, I guess it need to be 7 by now. But I think it has a lot to do with tying into what other people think, because if you are already an independent woman with your own home and your own car, you don't have a problem getting your groceries, you're going on vacations with your friend, what is the real purpose behind having to have this man who makes all this money other than you're worried what other people are going to think? Because if he is a grown man, he too is probably supporting himself. Maybe his house isn't as big as yours, or maybe he's in an apartment, but he probably has a car, it's whatever. But to me, shouldn't it be more about the fact that he is going to work, he makes an honest living, he's not depending on anybody else? So even if his income can't exceed yours or even match it, why is that still such a big deal at this big age? Because we know, especially in our communities, our men maybe not have had that opportunity to make all that money. And then what's wrong with getting together and building something together? But can we talk about that? Like, why are we 50 years plus still looking for this man that makes all this money?
Well, at 73, I started dating a long time ago. So one of the things, we never talked about money. I mean, okay. So we would be at the club on happy hour, and if the Miller guys came in, the guys who worked at Miller, everybody said, oh, the Miller boys are here. Because, we knew they made money. But you could be with somebody for long periods of time. We didn't sit at the table and talk about what do you bring to the table, and we were always talking about fun stuff. Now, and this whole thing of, well, I need to know what his job is and how much money he has. I dated men that I didn't have a clue what their job was or how much money they had. They had money to buy pancakes, because I'm a pancake. So they had money to buy pancakes at 2 in the morning, and that was cool with me.
Right.
I don't get this whole thing.
I will say that my experience has been, I'm fortunate to make a good living for myself. What that has meant for me in dating is that men will question my choices and the way that I invest in myself. If I wake up tomorrow and want to fly to Turks and Caicos, I will wake up tomorrow and fly to Turks and Caicos. And it's not about the amount of money that a man makes, it's about his value system around however much money that is. I have been in very uncomfortable situations where, I've been challenged about how much my purse costs, or you have 2 Mercedes, or, whatever the thing is. And I just don't want that in my life, And so it's not about how much he makes, it's about whether or not we see life the same, we pursue the same types of experiences, and we have the same value system. And by the same token, I don't know, maybe I'm pretentious, but I don't want to go out with a man in an Amazon suit. That
Amazon suit.
That is funny. Yeah. But you're being honest.
I'm being very, very honest. I don't there's just and now I don't care if you make $60,000. I don't know if that's, I don't care if you make $60,000, but if we can share life together and share experiences together, that's what matters most to me. But I definitely don't ever want to be again, and maybe that's trauma from my first marriage and, some of the guys that I dated before, but there's just always you paid this much for that? Yes, I did. And I will do it again. Maybe go back to your question, why are you single? Maybe that's the answer.
I do know, and I have heard other women say that there's a certain level of confidence that come with a man who makes a certain amount of money, because they're not intimidated by the money that you have, or feeling like they have to meet a certain standard to keep up with you. But I think a lot of women feel like, I could buy my own Gucci bag. I don't need you to buy me a Gucci bag if you can't, but just don't fuss when I buy my Gucci bag. Yeah, so I get that. Anybody else? What's your thought on the money, Tam?
I think a lot of people just aren't being honest. Once again, the loudest voice is not always the right voice. And I think we're spilling a lot of this stuff. This man's got to be making this, and I'm a boss, so I need him to be a boss. Look, all these black women are bosses. Let me just put that. Let's talk about statistics.
Right.
We're still, the boss women are still the 4%, if that, in the black women population. So we just need to calm it down. Let's just be realistic, and we need to talk to our girlfriends about the bullshit they're saying. He's got to make this. Girl, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You want, and I've dated some men that are high earned figures. That comes with something.
It comes with something.
You got to be ready for that. He's going to be critiquing you. He's going to be looking at you. Are you reaching for the right glass? He's not going to be there a lot of the times. Power. Power feeds power, and they want to be powerful over you. Not all men that make six figures. Please, I don't want to say that about all men. But that is something that comes with being a 4%er. That's ego. And you got to be ready to deal with ego. So it sounds real good, but hey, at the end of the day, get you a man that's going to call you and ask and check up on you. That's what you need. That's what needs to be in the bank.
How was your day?
Yeah, exactly, and care.
Right.
And not move on to the next subject
That's
as soon as
right.
they say it. I mean, they really care. How was your day?
Right.
You had a bad
I
day.
give you a glass of wine?
Next thing you know, at lunchtime, there's Uber Eats pulling up.
Right.
Those are the wealthy things that I want in my life. But we need to stop the rhetoric about the power couple and all that. It's not realistic, and it's not necessarily something you should strive for. That's just my opinion.
That power couple, just because they're a power couple, that don't mean they're.
Doesn't mean they're happy.
Right. Right, yeah, because there is a difference. And the thing is so funny that you had mentioned it's a lot to deal with, because what I have seen a lot with our women is you want this high earner, what they call high value man, right? And so there's this high value man, but then you also want to run him and tell him what to do.
And it ain't gonna happen.
Good luck with that.
And so it's a lot of stuff.
not gonna
And so I definitely want Adrienne to chime in on that. What's
Oh,
that?
you did.
that- yes, because we talked about
we
this.
did.
That high value man that we then want to boss around.
Wait,
Like you
but
can't have both.
How do I want to say this? You all have said so many good things. I don't really know which thing to piggyback off of. Be what it is that you seek. Okay? Be what it is you seek. So if you're seeking a man that has all this money, are you bringing all this money? Are you bringing all this talent? Are you knowing which fork is the right fork? Are you a little too loud in the restaurant? That's not gonna work, okay? Okay? Are you on the Peloton? Do you own a Peloton? Okay, so I'm saying that part of what we're talking about here is we're talking about what we want, but then we're also talking about what we're bringing, right? And then at the end of the day, we're also talking about what's really gonna make you happy. And I know what makes me happy is that my husband loves me. And I think that's what makes most married people happy or people in relationships happy is love. And we talk about a lot of the other things, and they do matter, I mean, to different people to different degrees, but at the end of the day, don't you want someone to care? Or just don't you want somebody to check in on you? Don't you want someone that, I'm not prescribing that. Again, I'm not prescribing that. There are people out there that are just fine with their girlfriends being that person. It does not have to be a man. But if you happen to want it to be a man, you need to really think about how you're ranking your priorities, like you said, or really think about your non-negotiables or, however you want to put it together so that you can come closer to really finding that person, because I think they're out there, and I just do. I talk to Black men mostly, and they want Black women, and they love Black women, is what they say to me. And what they say is, I find it very challenging to date Black women sometimes because I'm never good, like everything is a critique. Like it's very challenging when I'm trying to love this woman. And so for me, that doesn't mean that Black women shouldn't be critiquing men, but it does mean that maybe we all need to work together on how we're communicating with one another. My husband and I were riding here today together, and we were talking to one of my clients that's a male. And I said to him when he was talking about Black women and some of his challenges, and I said to him, but you do realize that these women that you're talking about, they're your mother, they're your sister, they're your aunt. And these men that we're talking about, they're our sons, they're our fathers, they're our brothers, they're our uncles. The gap should not be as wide as we're making it if we start to employ really, really good communication, I think.
Well, I think, and Charlotte, you can probably help me with this one. I think a lot of the problems that we have with Black women and Black men is that we all historically have suffered a lot of trauma. and we have our traumas, they have their trauma. I think that Black women have moved the needle when it comes to therapy, and we have decided to go ahead and lay on somebody's couch and, try to work our stuff out. I don't think our men are quite there yet. And I think that they, in some aspects, kind of resent our healing. And they're still in a broken place, and it's hard for them because we were put in a position many, many years ago to have to be the heads of our household because our men were stripped from our household, even from slavery to when you talk about incarceration rates that are just completely ridiculous, a lot of them wrongly accused. And so I think there has to be a lot of healing. And I know professionally, that's what you deal with. So what do you think about that, the trauma between Black women and Black men and how that affects our relationships?
I think you just said it all. My personal experience, like when we think about lists and non-negotiables, therapy is a non-negotiable for me. Whether it is you have been in therapy on your own, or if we are talking about moving to like permanence or long-term, that then we engage in therapy at that point. But it is a non-negotiable. I will also say that just like systemic, like we just talked about earning a lot, therapy is expensive. And so many people have been locked out of, when it comes down to like making decisions between this or that, I've heard so many Black men say they just can't afford it between all of their current obligations, but women know we can't afford not to. So have been a lot more, and I think just emotionally, women have been more attuned to how trauma has impacted us, probably more so. We have the privilege of like sitting with our feelings, the privilege we haven't really granted men in the Black community. And so I think it absolutely impacts how we navigate relationships, how we show up for relationships. I think the challenge is how does, like societally, how do we make therapy more accessible to Black men, and how do we encourage them to take advantage of the opportunity of therapy and see the benefit that it offers in terms of like healing and preparation for a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I just think it's just so important because, I know it's cliche, but hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think, Black women were put in a position where we had no choice but to be strong and to take over. But after a while, it's kind of ingrained in you. So then we do meet a good man, but we're still like, ready and just, being able to learn ourselves first and then learn each other. I kind of want to skip around a little bit because I know, we have to be in our time constraints, and I don't want to miss anything. So let's talk about online dating and dating apps. What do we think about those? Are they, a good thing? Has anybody used them? Anybody have a funny story? Anybody have a success story? Like, what's up with the dating apps? Like, at our age, are we still swiping left and right and doing all that stuff? I'm like, why are you looking at me like that?
So let me tell you my dating app story. So I'm on the app, meet this guy. We converse. We decide to meet for lunch. So we meet for lunch, and we're sitting there talking, and he says, now, at that time I think I was like 71, and I think he was maybe a year younger than me. And so he says, he's a freak. And I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, you're 70 years old, freak, really? Well, as it turns out, he is a retired person in a field that I have a friend. So while we're sitting at the table, I text my friend and say, do you know this person? My friend said, text me right back and says, get up and go to the restroom right now. And so I excuse myself. He says, do not go anywhere with that And when my wife gets home, I'm going to have her call you and tell you this story. And so I go back to the table and I'm looking at him like, oh, hell. So he's going on and on about what a freak he is. And he likes to do freaky stuff. And I'm thinking, well, not with me, because my friend just told me I can't even leave the restaurant with you. And this was in the middle of the day. So, yeah, no, I'm not real strong on online dating. I'm old. Every man I ever met, I met the old-fashioned way. I met a man. Oh, some of you are not old enough to remember this, but there used to be something called the Dallas-Fort Worth Turnpike. Mm-hmm. And so I had been to Dallas. We were coming back. We were driving down the freeway, and he was waving. I waved. So when we get to the toll booth, he whips in front of me. And when I get up to the booth, the lady says, oh, the guy paid for you. So anyway, we pull off on Oakland. We start talking. Well, we dated for a long time. I met him on the freeway. Right. That's why I said, kind of fell across the top. But yeah, that online thing, nah.
I never knew online. Like, I guess I was kind of old-fashioned, too. Not intentionally. I've just never been a dater, and I know this might surprise a lot of you, but I'm not that friendly. And so I've never been like really, I'm better now. But everybody who I've ever dated or married, I always knew for some other reason. Like either you're my cousin's homeboy that's been around forever or we work together. Mm-hmm. So I've never been on a dating app because I personally think that everybody's the killer. No. So that
I've been on all the dating apps.
Okay, so how was that?
I mean, again, I met some really nice men. I think, it's all about, they're just, there's some, how you set your profile up, what you say you want and everything. None of it.
I didn't say I wanted a freak.
You're right, mister. You never said that. Well, I mean, for me, I'm saying this is what I'm paying attention to. I'm paying attention to what his, what does his profile picture look like? What information is he sharing versus not sharing? Mm-hmm. And I have met some really good men. Again, just not good for me. The guy I'm dating now, he's my friend's husband's best friend, who I've known for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Like we've spent so much time together over the years, and then it just was like, oh. And then, okay. And it's going beautifully, Yeah. But I think online dating there's some killers out there. You're not wrong about that, Stay, but most of them aren't.
Right.
Most of them aren't. And I'm of the opinion that anybody can be anything for 90 days. And so they show up as one thing. And the same is probably true of me. I probably show up as one thing.
Well, our representative.
Our representative always comes in first.
Yeah, the best foot forward.
I dated online, and I've over a period of years, and I would say that who I'm getting ready to marry, it was a success story because we did meet online. Mm-hmm. And we met one of the popular things. And it was interesting because I was not actively online. I'd get on there and swipe a few times. Like to learn more. And then it'll be 2 weeks before I get back on. And so I did that. Well, with him, I did it. I saw him online. I was like, he looks like a fun guy. And so I said, hey, read your profile, like to learn more. Mm-hmm. And then I think I was offline for like 2 or 3 weeks because I was busy. And it's like, this is like a full-time job being online. Mm-hmm. I don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. Well, when I went back, he had sent me a message. He had sent me a message like immediately after I had sent my original message. So he was hanging out there for 2 or 3 weeks going, well, what happened? Right. I got back on, I saw the message, and I was like, oh yeah. And so I sent another message, and then I jumped off, and it was another couple of weeks.
Oh, my God.
And he was like, what the deal?
Right.
You know, are you on or are you
Right.
off? You know, and then after we this probably went on for, you know, probably about 2-3 months that I was on, off, not really, you know, until finally I said, you know what? He's really hanging in there, you know, like waiting for some conversation. So I said, well, I'm not online often. And he was like, no kidding. And I said, so here's my number if you want to text.
Okay.
And actually, I appreciate it because he did only text. He respected that. So we text for a while, and after a while, conversations got long. And I'm not a short, you know, that one of those, you know, LOL, you know, it's about as short as like, I'm like texting whole sentences and stuff. You know, it's like, this is really exhausting too. So then I said, okay, well, I think I'll call him. So I actually called him after texting. I think we texted for a couple of weeks. And I called, and he was excited to hear from me. He said, well, you know, you said text, so I wanted to text. I'm
love that.
really happy you called.
Founders.
Yeah.
And then we talked, and we decided to have a date. And we met for our date, and I thought, you know, he's a good-looking guy, you know? And then and he was like, well, you know, I would like to go out with you again. And I said, well, you know, let me, you know, it sounds like okay, we can think about it. He said, so it's not a no,
Right.
you know,
It's
so
not
that
a
was
no.
good. And then after that, we dated for about a year, actually. And then we kind of went our separate ways. It was very amicable. And then I called him up after about a year and said, hey, how are things going? And he said, it's great. You know, I'm not in Fort Worth or in DFW anymore. You come visit. Went and visit, and he says, you know, I'd like to do this thing again, but this time it needs to be going somewhere. And, which is usually the woman is like,
Right.
it
Right.
needs to be going somewhere. He was
Right.
like, it needs to be going somewhere.
Okay.
And then when he moved back, he moved back with a ring and a proposal.
Oh, I love
So
that.
it was like, okay, okay, but yeah, it was a success story, but I had dated online a few times, you know, gone out, and
But it works.
yeah, they were like,
It can.
yeah, I didn't even like this. I'm a freak. Yeah,
Like,
that's
Right,
not in my
we're leading
profile.
with
I'm
that.
not in my
Like,
profile.
yeah,
You know.
no. See, and I immediately would have thought he was a sex trafficker. See, my mind goes to worst case scenario. Like, you're not a freak, you're trying to sex traffic me. But yeah, that online thing is just something that was new. But you mentioned that you called him. So what do y'all think about that? Women making first moves. Is that something you're okay with, or do?
I was raised not to.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. I hear the audience say, yeah,
I was
raised
raised
not to.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I not too often, but I will.
Right, yeah. Because sometimes I do believe that men are gun shy as
Yes.
well, or
They are.
afraid of rejection.
Yes.
You know, and so I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. We had a comment on here that I wanted to make sure that I addressed on our live. It says, let's discuss fit and fitness of Black women. Dating in our community, this subject needs to be discussed. Men, no matter the shade, are attracted to women who are fit and into fitness. Let's talk about it.
I don't know about that. Well, yes, and there's a whole lot of big girls out there that are being loved well. So I hesitate to reduce, you know, a man's attraction to a woman based on whether or not she's fit, and what does fit even mean?
And
You know,
that's
that
what I
looks
was going to
differently
say,
for
because
different
there's
people.
healthy, right?
Yeah.
That can mean no matter your size, everybody's health. Like, you know, I've been struggling with hypertension since I was 28. And I, believe it or not, I was little back then. I was little at a time. You know, I was probably, you know, a size 4, 6 soaking wet, and I had hypertension. So to me, that's what fit means, is healthy. And then I guess I'm thinking of what we've been talking about, and what about them? And we discussed that, Adrienne. Like, you're wanting the 6-pack or the Coca-Cola shape, but what are you? Like,
We did discuss that. Am I supposed to say more about the fit thing?
yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
I'm not really sure what to.
I just want to make sure.
I'm not really sure how to address fitness. Again, I think, you know, our conversation has been great. We've been all over the place, and we've done a lot of really big sweeping generalizations of a lot of things. Sure. And, you know, there's people who like I just think you need to like the person and they need to like you. And I think that when you meet someone and you really like them and they really get you and you really get them, there's certain things that are on these lists and even some non-negotiables I've learned in marriage that you kind of just take off the list because you love that person. And so I don't know a lot about fitness. I know a lot of very fit Black women that may or may not have significant others. And I know some very voluptuous women who are walking around with like small toothpick-sized men that seem very happy. I mean, I don't know what to say about fitness. I mean, I think it's just a personal choice. Like what you like, love what you love.
I think it is a factor. Kind of be the disruptor. It is. I mean, we have to be concerned, first of all, in the Black community about our health. It's just reality. We have to. You know what I'm saying? And so I see a lot of it, and I have a lot of guy friends, so I hear them saying they want this woman a certain size, and they're, 350. I mean, I'm like, but how does that work, bro?
That's a big woman.
But they generally date petite women. And it's really weird because they'll be like really big guys, but then they'll sign petite women. I'm like, so I think there's a little bit of I'm saying a double standard, but I see it exist. You know what I'm saying? That bigger men want the smaller woman, and I don't think it's realistic. And I just think that fitness is important. We have to take care of ourselves, you guys. My timeline now is filled with people passing, and it's a beautiful thing to get older, but to see the passing of people, because you and I are older. You were looking at me.
I'm like, this one does say about 70-something.
I'm right there with you. So, I mean, but it's just true. We do have to take care of ourselves. And people are always going to have standards about looks. Let's not be silly about it. You guys are attracted to what you're attracted to.
You know what?
And you might be attracted to a big girl. I think that's my only point.
Yeah.
Like
And fitness is not necessarily being in the gym every day and having a
it's all
six-pack,
encompassing.
but it is being healthy and eating right and those types of things. And that comes in all sizes.
Yeah, it's a difference. I know for me with my story, my husband was a big guy. Well, he's still a big guy, but when I met him, he was probably about 50 or 60 pounds bigger than he is now. I never looked at my husband, not for one moment, as fat, nothing, because I'm a big girl. I'm tall, I'm not skinny, so I like big guys. He looked like a big football player. Well, when we ended up in the hospital with him with a 96% blockage in the main artery of his heart, that's when it was like, okay, we need to lose weight, we need to start eating better. But it never had anything to do with his size or attraction. It was like, okay, we need to save your life. And it wasn't until he lost 60 pounds that I was like, dang, dude, you was big. You know what I mean? Because I never looked at, he was just a big guy. He's 6'2", he's a bigger guy, and that was great. And so I feel health is the number one, because there's somebody for everybody. And like I said, I've been suffering with hypertension since I was 28 and a little thing. So that's the things that we need to worry about over anything. And I think everybody has their different preferences and attractions. But one thing too I want to make sure that we talk about before we start wrapping up is the importance of friendship in relationships, because I was not looking for a boyfriend, let alone a husband, when I met my current husband. And we truly were friends first for at least a year before it was kind of like, oh, I think we might go together. But it happened so organically. And it was just one day, and I'm not going to bore y'all with the story, but it was just one day I just had to stop before I did something. I was like, oh, I need to let Wallace know. And then I'm thinking, but why am I letting him know? Like, this really ain't none of his business. Oh, I think I might like him. And then it's like, oh, but he ain't even called me today. Why didn't he call me today? And those kind of thoughts. But we had that friendship, which we still have. And someone even was trying to be funny one time. A young lady who kind of had the hots for him had come to me and said, well, he always introduced you as his best friend, but I thought y'all were engaged. Well, boo, that best friend tag means way more to me than this engagement ring. And so How do y'all feel about that? And do you have any male friends who maybe you kept in that friend zone for too long and that's really your person?
I think friendship is important in your relationship. One of the things that I value is that I can talk to David about everything. No matter how serious, no matter how not serious, I can be as silly as I want, but I can talk to him about serious matters. And it's like, like I have my bestie that I can talk to about everything. And then here it is that I have my man who is like my bestie. I can talk to him about anything, and there's no judgment.
Yeah.
And and we joke about it. We might tease each other about it, but it's nothing that's hanging over your head. Somebody throwing it back in your face. It is a real friendship that we established, and I think that that's very important when you talk about relationship.
Yeah. That friend zone can be a scary place sometimes.
I asked my friend the question the other day. I was like, well, what took you so long? If you were what? And he was like, well, we were friends. And you asked the question earlier. My best friend says all the time, guys see one of three colors, red, yellow, or green. They don't respond to red and they don't respond to yellow. If they don't see green, if they don't see a green light,
Yes.
they are not moving forward. And so I was like, well, yellow means maybe. She's like,
Right.
no, they don't respond
They
to
don't want
they don't
rejection.
they don't want rejection. And so I at one point showed up at some like friend event with another guy and never but I think it's just that thing that I saw him as he was just my friend. He was my friend's friend. He was everybody's friend. We were all just friends.
Right.
Until we weren't. And
Right.
then, and I think that has made it so much more fun that we have
Yes.
all these stories to draw from, all these experiences that we've had together, things,
Yeah, it's important. And it's funny you said it because that's what Wallace said to me in the beginning. He was like, I just didn't think I had a shot with you. He was like, all you kept telling me was how you wasn't trying to be in a relationship, how you didn't want to get married again. And he said, but I liked you enough where I knew I wanted you in my life, so
Yeah.
if it just had to be my friend. And he regrets it now because we were so much friends. He was dating. He would call me every night, tell me about the dates. Now it's like, I be looking back like, yeah, I know what you said you did with Sharon. You ain't doing that with me. Oh, we got another one? Okay, let's see. Mature dating, is that what you mean, that question? Okay. Mature dating timing is important as well. We are older and time is not on our side. What does a timeline look for mature dating? Oh, I like that one. I like that one. Are we still trying to be dating for a year, engaged for a year, big wedding? Like, at this big age, we kind of know what we want. So what
I
is
tell
the
my
timeline?
family and friends, hey, if I pop up married, don't nobody say nothing.
Okay.
Whatever that means,
Right.
That could mean next week, that could mean in 10 years, but just when it feels ready, when it feels right.
What do y'all think? Because I think now, I know the couple of times that I did, talk to different guys or whatever, I could pretty much tell in a conversation whether or not I'm going to talk to you again.
Correct.
And I could tell in about 3 or 4 whether I thought, okay, this is something. So what do y'all think about timelines at this age?
I have no interest in getting married. I mean, I'm a 3-day. I want you for 3 days, and they don't have to be consecutive. But I have no interest in getting married.
Wait, 3 days and we're done, or 3 days before
No,
I know
3
if we're
days
gonna...
that we hang out. 3 days
And
a
I
week,
know. Okay.
and that's about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I don't
Okay.
care about the weekends. But
Okay.
I'm past the marriage. There was a point that I absolutely wanted to get married. It didn't happen. And now I'm real selfish. I'm extremely selfish about my time, about my stuff, little silly stuff. You ate my, the last oatmeal pouch. Why would you touch my oatmeal? That was my oatmeal. I was saving that oatmeal. Well, I'll buy some more, but it wasn't that one. It was that I had that
Right.
one.
And it was mine.
I had my mouth fixed. That's what my husband always tell me.
Yeah.
So you ladies, so you're engaged now to be married. Did you have a timeline, or did things just fall this way?
No, okay, so he kept moving the goalposts. So it was, and it was, we don't have to get married, but I want you to wear the ring, and you don't even have to wear the set. I just want you to know my commitment to you. And I said, okay, because I said I didn't want to get married anymore. Then about a couple of weeks later, when I was like, one day I'd have the band on, one day I have the engagement ring on, he said, why aren't you wearing the set? And I said, well, you said I had the choice. He said, well, no, I want you to wear the set. And I thought, well, okay. He said, well, we don't need the paper. I said, okay. So then after, I don't know, several months, he's, you know,
I've been thinking.
I want the paper. And I was just like, you keep moving the goalposts. So it took me a minute to kind of, it's like, yeah, because we had moved in together and everything. So it was like, well, yeah, we're kind of doing this anyway. And I was telling my friend, my bestie, and I said, it's something about that paper that makes it feel like a real commitment. So we went and got the paper, and but yeah.
I love it. So I know we need to wrap up. Do we have any questions, comments, statements from our studio audience? Because y'all, we have people in the building. Anybody have anything they want to add to the conversation? Yes, ma'am, Kelly.
This is absolutely amazing. And I think we need to do this with men. We need to have this conversation with men because there is a man in the audience who is over here having a heart attack. He is throwing darts at y'all. If he had a water balloon, y'all would be wet. So, he's saying don't do that. But he's doing it. But thank y'all for being here because this has been a great conversation and we have to do it again.
Yes, it has. It has. It has been a great conversation. Well, I just want to say, you have some? Okay.
The other man wants to say, okay.
Okay.
We talk back and forth.
Well, you put me on the spot, so I have to defend myself. So let me say this. Not so much throwing darts or balloons or nothing like that. It's just hearing the conversation. And from a man's point of view, I'm Daryl McGee, by the way, I'm sorry, Daryl McGee. And just from a man's point of view, hearing, there's only a couple of things that I wanted to comment about, not really throwing darts, just comment on it. But Adrienne, you hit on a lot of the things I was saying. I mean, as far as speaking from a man's point of view, I can tell you the one thing that men do not do. Men do not create lists for women. They do not do that. Let me say men, and I'm 63, by the way, so I'm right there with you guys and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, men don't do that. We want to look at women for their character and what they present and how they present themselves. And that's the thing that I wanted to comment on more is saying this. Creating lists is great if that's what you want to do. But she took my point from me. You've got to list those things that are non-negotiable. And when they're non-negotiable for him, they also need to be non-negotiable for you. Because if you don't like you, how can I love you?
Wow.
That's the thing. You have to be what you exemplify. And when you do that, it doesn't matter how much money you make, how much you weigh, how long your hair is. It's this. How can I love you if you don't like the you project from the mirror?
Wow. Ooh.
Now, a lot of things, there's a lot of other stuff that was said that I'm not going to get into because I'd be here all the time. What's that?
We gotta go.
I know it, but that's all I really want to say. I want to say, but you ladies have done a great job of presenting things here, but I'll be the first man to say, you can have all the lists in the world, but if that man doesn't meet this, doesn't meet that, that's not him, that's you.
All right, well, give it up for Brother Daryl McGee. Come on, Daryl.
And he a Steeler fan.
Daryl is coming
so
back.
Can't be that bad. He's a Steeler fan, so he good. He's good. But yes, so of course, another conversation that went way too fast, but I appreciate each and every one of you on the panel. Before we sign off, Adrienne, how do people contact you if they're looking for your services to help with some matchmaking?
Oh, I can be found on Instagram. I can be found on Facebook at Bespoke Modern Matchmaking. I do coaching as well as matchmaking. So I hope to hear from you and at least have a conversation about what's going on. But be ready to do the work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be ready to do the work.
Well, I love it. I thank you, ladies. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention my beautiful partner in crime, Miss Kelly Allen Gray, who without her, none of this would be possible. We say all the time, this just started over with some tacos and margaritas and a conversation between two girlfriends. And this has turned into a beautiful sisterhood. And so thank you all for tuning in. If you're not already following Hey Girl, Hey, please make sure you do so now, because there are many more wonderful conversations to come. So until next time, hey girl, hey.